Some days there are pieces of mail you just don't want to see. Bills, late notices, maybe a recall on that car you just bought. Not fun, right? But if you operate a 501c3 nonprofit, one piece of mail you really don't want to see in your mailbox is IRS Notice CP120A. What's that? It's your notice of revocation of tax-exempt status. Now what do you do? Hi, I'm Greg McRae, founder and CEO of Foundation Group, and welcome back to our 501c3 University channel, where we endeavor to make nonprofit compliance understandable. So, you got this nasty gram from the IRS telling you that you lost your 501c3 status. Bad day for sure, and it's not really comforting to know that you're not alone. It happens to thousands of nonprofits every year, but now you have to deal with this. Now, I'm going to outline 5 things you must do if your nonprofit loses its 501c3 status, but before I do, let me tell you how this happened to you in the first place. Since 2011, the IRS has been revoking the 501c3 status of any nonprofit that fails to file Form 990 for 3 consecutive years. Now, this termination of status was the result of legislation passed in 2006 called the Pension Protection Act that brought a ton of new federal compliance rules for nonprofits. The most relevant to our conversation being the requirement of all 501c nonprofits to file the appropriate version of Form 990 every single year. Each month, the IRS updates its naughty list, searchable at irs.gov/EO, of all the organizations that most recently had their status revoked. Notice CP120A? Well, that's this little guy right here, the letter that informs you that this has happened to you. And to make bad news worse, you will not get a warning from the IRS that this is coming. Nor is the decision appealable. Miss 3 consecutive years, lose your tax exemption. No exceptions, no excuses. So is there any good news in here? Well, thankfully there is. The best news of all is that it is possible to get your 501c3 status restored. But hang on, there's a process here, and it's critical that you fully understand the ramifications of auto-revocation and the correct way to get back what you lost. It all starts with these 5 things. Number 1, stop soliciting donations. Like, stop it now, today. Your nonprofit is no longer a tax-exempt charity. You don't have 501c3 status anymore, and you're probably already ahead of me on this. Donations, if you get them, are not tax-deductible to the donor as of the effective date posted on your revocation notice. Let's just be brutally honest here. If you continue to solicit donations, you are either explicitly or implicitly communicating that you are still a 501c3. If there's even a chance that your donors could believe your nonprofit still has tax exemption, you could be guilty of fraud violating any number of state and federal laws. Now, fortunately for your donors, gifts they made after your revocation date that were made in good faith, meaning they reasonably believed that your nonprofit was still a 501c3, well, they'll most likely still be tax deductible on their tax return. But if that donor is audited, the lack of a contemporaneous donation receipt may undercut that. Number 2, communicate your new reality to your regular donors. Yeah, this one kind of gives you heartburn, doesn't it? No one really wants to admit to their donors that they screwed up and failed to be IRS compliant. Not once, but for 3 straight years. It's embarrassing, right? I get it. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes either. But failure to communicate the reality of your tax-exempt status to those who are frequent or systematic givers, it's just another version of fraudulent representation. Do the right thing and inform your regular donors. Number 3, do not reincorporate. Crazy as it might seem, we see this all the time, and it comes from people not really understanding the difference between their nonprofit as a corporate entity versus its IRS tax status. The IRS has revoked your 501c3 status, not torpedoed your entire organization. Assuming you've been filing your state corporate report on time, your nonprofit should still legally exist as a nonprofit corporation. It's just that you no longer have federal tax exemption as a 501c3. So if you receive a letter of revocation from the IRS, don't panic. Your nonprofit still exists, so do not file new articles of incorporation. Make sure your corporate status is still active at the state level, then move on to number 4. Number 4, apply to the IRS for 501c3 status reinstatement. Once your status has been revoked, you have to apply to the IRS to get it back. Simple as that. You'll use Form 1023 like you did the first time, and you'll have to indicate that this is a reinstatement application. Be prepared to provide the same level of detail as before, except you'll be looking backward instead of projecting proposed programs. Also, if one of the 3 years of missing Form 990s was more than a Form 990N, you're going to need to prepare those back returns for each missed year. Are we having fun yet? It's likely that the IRS will have follow-up questions for you once they receive your application for reinstatement. But assuming your program is still 501c3 qualifying, you should be able to have your tax-exempt status restored, maybe even retroactive. And finally, number 5, don't ever let it happen again. Hopefully your nonprofit never loses its tax-exempt status, but if it does, learn the lesson. Maintaining proper compliance is not a best practice recommendation, it's a legal necessity. Failure to file Form 990 not only jeopardizes your tax-exempt status, but it also telegraphs a disregard for transparency and accountability, and frankly, that's not a good look for any charitable organization. If you are in this predicament, do not beat yourself up. So many charities are volunteer-driven, and the rules can be overwhelming. It happens. But like I said, you can get your status back. Foundation Group works with dozens of reinstatement cases every single year. If you need help, reach out to us. We can help you with both the Form 1023, the back Form 990 filings. We can even help you get current on your state filings. You don't have to go it alone. There's a link in the description below for details on our reinstatement services. Well, that's it for this installment. If you liked this video, help us out by clicking the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got great content coming at you every single week. Thanks for watching. Now go serve your community.